Good morning, everyone. Today is the June 21st, and thanks. And this week we have like the deadline for the CAP. So I know everyone's busy. So let's go over our agenda. I saw the Kevin, and I did review that one. The Kevin, do you want to talk about the alignment, circuit alignment, CPU manager option?
I don't think he's on, Dawn. So I think we'll just start to review it.
Okay. Yeah. So I just reviewed before this meeting, and I will continue finish, and haven't finished all the review. And but I think the Kevin gave throughout the review. I agree with him. So looks likely we are going to approve and after this meeting and move forward. This is alpha feature, alpha option, and for existing features. So yeah.
Sure, makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to talk about the next one?
Yeah. So Dawn, I put together a list of few of them. I think first, second, and the fourth one are like minor updates to the KEPs that need approval, like milestone or the testing section. So Derek is not out, is out this week. So we're gonna ask you if you can take a quick look and add approve on those.
I think that before this meeting, I already approved two of them.
Oh, okay.
And the one for the pod, the network ready condition. So I saw there still have the review going on. So please ping me once you think that is ready.
Dynamic resource allocation is not in that list. That's the PR number cap 3063. I don't seem to have edit permissions, or at least not where I have the agenda open, so I can't edit. This is Patrick speaking, by the way.
Patrick, can you put it in chat? I'll add it to the list. And
yes, okay. So do you want me to give a short status update? I've been discussing it in the last few days, and it's not ready for implementable. But Tim Hawkins suggested that we should merge it as is with the provisional status that is in the CAP YAML file at the moment. Because this PR that we have open is so large that it just becomes unwieldy to just look at comments and scroll through changes. So Tim really encouraged everyone, me as the author and Aldo as the other co-reviewer, to consider merging it provisional and then taking it from there. We are fairly close to having something that we all agree on for the API and the scheduler. But yeah, we need further review also from someone from SIG Node to move it to implementable.
So I know Derek was reviewing it. I'm not sure if he got a chance to comment, but he's out this week. I can make a pass, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to approve it entirely from SIG Node's perspective.
SIG Node is actually, in my opinion, the smallest part of a CAP.
Okay, I can take a look then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly about the main problem is new pod API scheduler, and then at the very end, kubelet consumes some of the new information, and we intentionally simplified it compared to what Derek reviewed in 124. So now kubelet, for example, doesn't need any additional permissions. It doesn't need to modify any additional objects as part of this proposal anymore, which should make it simpler for SIG Node to review and approve, because it's really simple in that regard. Yeah, okay. But if you can take a look,
yeah, I can make a pass today for sure.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Yeah, I also wanted to take a quick look, so I'll try to take a look and review as well.
Who has the who can approve in the end if Derek is out? Do we have
Dawn?
Manu can approve, Dan can approve. We have a bunch of people still, and Kevin also can approve. Manu, because the problem is the goal is not just approval, right? So we also want to make sure that it is the meet requirement, right? Yeah. So I think a part of in the past we are easy to approve certain things, and then we have to deprecate. So it causes a lot of change. So I understand that you work very hard on this one, but the one part of we want requirement for the approval, it is also feel free to say no. So I understand.
Of course, I don't. As you know, I usually don't attend SIG Node meetings, so I don't know how much Sasha and my other colleagues have discussed this CAP with you guys. I can certainly add more background if that's needed or if that's helpful, but I really just need to know what has already been said about it and where SIG Node is with regard to what this CAP is trying to solve. Anyway, let's do a first pass and then we need to follow up quickly because I was still hoping to get it into 125 as implementable. The prototype came along fairly well as outlined in the CAP, so I don't expect too many tricky problems that still need to be solved. It's really just about, yeah, trying a few approaches for the API. That's the open that I have with Tim. Anyway, I'll shut up now and give you a chance to look at it after the meeting.
Yeah, Patrick needs to follow up offline, and Manu, thanks for volunteer to take another review. Unfortunately, Derek has the most content here because we assigned to him to review this one, so I don't have. But the team also talked to me. I understand team approval, but the team also raised his concern to me, and so he hope our SIG Node can hold the bar here. So that's why I want to make sure. We need to hold the bar because dynamic resource allocation is being the feature we want. I mean, the SIG Node want to move forward for last couple of years, right? So every time being pushed back, but this time looks like it's more promising. So we do want to, like even I mentioned to Tim have a lot of concern before he approval. So he did talk to me. Then I give him my reason. I want to move this forward. But it doesn't mean like we are going to sacrifice everything, right? The reliability and the usability and the maintainability, just move forward. I just want to make sure we understand there's something because we signal the community. We've been suffer or maybe like criticize the reliability, and people want a certain feature and desperately, but in the reality we have also because those once a while because velocity we trade off the reliability, so that's also bite us a lot. Yeah, and yeah, Patrick, we understand this. We want to move forward, but unfortunately, Derek have the full entire of the context from the beginning, and it's not here. Yeah. We also have like the 19 different CAP in this release cycle. Last week I approved 5 already, and I would just want to say that and there's the reviewer bandwidth problem and also the approval bandwidth problem.
I checked with my colleagues, and for example, Sasha agrees that the class-based resources, which I think you discussed last week, which based on the title sounds similar, is actually doing something else. And Sasha agreed that the other one, the class-based resources, that's less important than dynamic resource allocation. So if you need to choose from our side, Intel, you're fine to pick dynamic resource allocation and just reject the other one and postpone it if you don't feel comfortable doing both.
Yeah, I agree with Marcus.
Yeah, thanks for the confirmation. I wasn't sure whether you were on the call.
Yeah. I think like what we are saying is like we will try, but Derek had the most context, and we have a lot on the plate, and we want to make sure that we get it right. And like so, we'll try, but it may slip, and we can keep working on it. Yeah.
Okay, so needs to follow up on all those CAP, still open the CAP and after meeting. So
yeah, I had a quick update for the pod status conditions. That was, I guess, the third entry. So
yes.
the quick update on that was, so Derek did do a full review on Thursday, but so he also spoke to me and like suggested that, you know, he had a specific name that he thought better aligned with what the KEP is trying to achieve, which is pod has network instead of surfacing sandbox related concepts. So the cap has been updated to basically integrate all that feedback, but I think Derek didn't get a chance before he left. Is there any way we can, I don't know, have another review and try to kind of get it approved for this quarter?
I can take a look on this one.
Yes.
Since you volunteer to look at it directly. Yeah. Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Derek and I reviewed it together, so we have the same perspective. It will be good to get Don's perspective on it.
Awesome.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. Okay, let's move to the next topic. Daniel, do you want to talk about the testing and the reliability? That's
Oh yeah. So I got a chance to go back over the recording from the kickoff we did for the reliability work and did a quick summary of basically what we ended up, which is to say we generally agreed that we have stuff to do, obviously. Part of that was trying to figure out what we mean when we say things are unreliable. So like this definition of that is, violating a published invariant of the Kubernetes API. So we say it works in this way, and then it doesn't. But this gets more complicated when you consider that a lot of the things we do are either not particularly well documented, and when you add in our various plugin interfaces and the lack of definition around how some of those interactions should resolve failure. So as part of that, we also then found a few areas where we want to improve things. So part of that is improving the contract testing around CRIs. And I've started opening issues for that. So both testing CRI implementations, but also testing how the kubelet will respond to failures in the CRI or like gRPC. And then also that we want to use tests to document what exists today to avoid shipping regressions without like knowing about it, and actually be aware when we are shipping behavioral changes. Because today it's fairly easy to make a change to the kubelet that will not break any tests, but will change behavior. And that's quite scary, especially when it has like spiraling issues with like scheduler interactions and other stuff. And then there's an extra area, which is clarifying where we're actually just lacking features for things that can cause failures. So some of that is like when disk accounting is really slow or we run out of memory and then things spiral out of control. We should be better at like documenting that proactively rather than just having, a bunch of unspecified things that can go wrong. Yeah. Does that make sense to everyone? Slash, does anybody have questions, comments, concerns, places they'd like to help?
So clarification on the later one that you mentioned around things that are missing, I guess an indication, is it that there are silent failures when there's like IO contention and memory?
So it's when there are issues there, we sort of spiral out and break in other ways that are like harder to track down. And it's mostly a case of being explicit about what we don't handle. And what we, in some cases, can't handle.
The IO one is bad. Usually it results in like timeouts between the kubelet or the container runtime when they start getting starved. So I think a good way to handle that one is maybe having some metrics like in the node exporter or something that can catch it fast enough. So maybe like if there are like folks across companies that want to collaborate on something that we can do there, it will help, because I know that's been tricky, and we did a bunch of workarounds in Cryo to better handle that. But basically, like, it depends on how you configure your node, right? Okay, if you configure it with Cryo, these are the kind of errors you expect. If you configure it with Containerd, you'll see different errors and so on. So maybe a better alerting may be useful there.
Yeah, I mean, on the GK side, we've had a lot of issues also with disk throttling and disk-related stuff, and yeah, it would be great to work more on those issues. And I think there's also work, for example, in NPD that we can do to detect it and maybe surface it as like a node condition, so users are clear, you know, maybe this node should not get new pod scheduled on it, etc. Yeah, I think like one of the most challenging parts right now, though, in the SIG, like in Kubelet and stuff, is a lot of the contracts are not super well defined. So like if we look at 122, we had like the pod lifecycle refactor, for example, and it changed certain things around pod status updates, basically, and whether it's like when the pod status update is delivered, or for example, is there an IP on the pod status when a pod is terminated, stuff like that. So that stuff is all kind of a little bit ambiguous today on what that should be, right? Should there be like an IP on a terminated pod or not, right? And we're kind of relying on the existing behavior to capture that. But unfortunately, there's like a lot of controllers and other things in the ecosystem that have started to rely on these things, and changing them can cause kind of downstream effects. So I think that's one of the big areas I think we need to work on, is kind of defining those contracts today and actually documenting what is important, what is not important, and ensuring we have tests for them.
David, to summarize what you proposed later, you just want to select the beyond CRI. You want to have like the clear define. Even we did define, but it looks like we might don't have like the test, sufficient test cover, right, to check the pod status, pod condition, and all those kind of things. We may be missing something. Like for example, you just mentioned pod terminating. Yeah, I saw tons of the product issue, and the pod is terminating, but it could be like the already died, or maybe still is running, container still running, and there's no clear way to explain. And so did you propose like the between Kubernetes and CRI, we also have another layer, and basically it's the between API server or master control plane and also Kubernetes on top of the pod API.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, just to take like a concrete example, we when a pod is terminating, like it on the pod status, after the pod is terminated, do we expect an IP on the pod spec or not? And like that actually was a behavior change in 122, for example. And I don't think we ever really thought too much about whether it should have an IP or shouldn't have an IP. And I don't think the answer is too important, but the fact that we're consistent matters, because like controllers and other things have started to take advantage of that. So when we broke that in 122, it caused kind of downstream, breakage, for example, endpoints controller and stuff like that. So definitely, I think there's work to be done at that layer, at the kind of pod API between API server and Kubernetes layer.
So yeah, looks like everyone want to help, but do we have like the way propose the process, like how people participate?
Not particularly well thought out yet. I'm not sure whether we want to just bundle it into the CI testing subgroup, or if we want something more aligned with like the main SIG stuff. And so I haven't particularly spent a lot of time thinking about that part of this. I'm just trying to document what we want.
Okay.
And then we can.
Yeah, I think the next step, and we need to have like an actionable plan, right? So then action plan, I think the original one our thought it is in the CI project, CI testing project of driving this one, because like from the previous stage to the next stage, which is we add more test coverage, right? We are trying to make some progress on deflick our test fee. And so now is we found that there's the missing test coverage. So maybe like the some test is being added, but like for example, some stress tests that we talk about, but never we run those tests anymore. So we try to add those back and update, because some is not reflect today's needs, today's situation. So we try to re-add them back. But we need a plan how to do that, and actionable, so people can share the work, right? So we need a central place, central doc to say, oh, here it is what we want to do to improve our overall testability and reliability, and here's the actionable action people working on. So people could be reach to each other to communicate, so avoid unnecessary duplicate effort, right? So,
yeah, when I finish writing up issues, I'll start a doc.
Sure, thank you.
I'm mostly writing up issues when I'm in meetings.
Sure. So also like or maybe just whatever format, could be doc or could be like the track, right? We have the trackable. Anything you prefer, and then come back to here. We just using those to track our
Sounds
stuff.
good.
Yeah. Any other comment on this? Also, David, maybe you want to file the issue and CC the Daniel about what you just talk about the pod condition, pod status.
Yeah. I'll make sure there's an issue for that in chat.
Thanks. Next, move to next one, and I think this. Sorry, I need.
That's me, Aldo.
Yes, please, Aldo. Yeah.
Right. So here, SIG apps and the working group batch, we are suggesting to add some rules for terminating or continue retrying jobs. And the natural API for this, it seems to be exit codes, but not in all cases. That's not enough in all cases. For example, you can have a lot of failures due to infrastructure errors or system errors. For example, the node completely goes down. In that case, there's no kubelet, so there wouldn't be exit code in the pod spec, and things like that. So part of a proposal that this is how why SIG Node is involved. The part of the proposal is to standardize all of the infrastructure system errors in Kubernetes into a single pod condition that every controller can write. For example, if kubelet, does an eviction, a pod eviction, it will also write a condition saying this is a system termination with status true. If kubescheduler does a preemption, it would write the same condition. If the pod garbage collector detects that the node is gone and needs to delete the pods that are orphan, same thing. He would add this condition. So that's basically the proposal. In kubelet side, we have identified that kubelet sometimes writes a status reason, which is in the cases where there is a OOM kill or when there is an eviction. So we are looking to just, in addition to adding a reason, add this standardized pod condition. So that's a proposal, and the KEP is pretty much ready. There's a few details to enhance. But I wanted to bring this up to your attention to see if you think this approach seems correct, or you have any other suggestions.
One question I have, and maybe it's already answered there, but wanted to just ask, like, how do you handle stuff where the pods are killed outside of, the standard Kubernetes API, like an kill, or maybe someone just SSHs to the node and, deletes it directly from the CRI, something like that, right? Stops the pod sandbox from the CRI. It's the idea that kubelet's going to reconcile that state. And I mean, it probably won't have an exit code at that point, right? Because it won't have watched it.
So I guess that's where the case of OMKL, I think it's already handled by kubelet when the kernel kills the pod. So we just want to hook into that logic. I'm not sure what happens if a user SSHs and removes the container. Could you enlighten us actually? In the case of a complete VM failure, there is the pod garbage collector in the kube controller manager. So we would add that logic there for that scenario. But I don't know about CRI. What happens if you remove the container from CRI?
So kubelet will still detect that it's gone, and it'll respawn it when it lists over the pleg. And when we move to evented pleg, hopefully it'll get that sooner.
Right. So it sounds like we should be able to tap into that logic and add the condition as well, right?
Makes sense. Okay.
My understanding it is this proposal actually try to avoid, like what Aldo earlier said, that all the controller, the Kubernetes also is one of the controller here, right? To set so basically could determine like the controller, like the global, not global, cluster level of the controller, and then we'll base on that failure and determine how I'm going to retry or not retry, or maybe it is like the move to the different. It could have the more intelligence. So
right. So there are two parts of the proposal. One is to have the API to decide what to do with this kind of errors, and that's in the job controller to implement, and that's pretty much agreed. The other side of the equation is how do we make it standard in Kubernetes that certain failures are, the pod didn't finish successfully, and also it didn't fail unsuccessfully because of software bugs. It just failed because there was pressure in the node was gone, there was no more space, so the kubescheduler preempted the pod. All of those errors we want to standardize into a single pod condition that we can filter against.
This is really useful feature. I just a little bit concerned because I know you pinged me last week. The problem it is earlier you heard we have so many CAP already going on here, and we don't like the few people already out of office, and so only my concern is review bandwidth and also approve bandwidth. It is the important feature. I can say that obviously, and the concern it is because this is also its API change standardization. So we don't want to get it wrong that people start using. But this is the alpha feature, right? Alpha state.
Yes, it's going for alpha.
Sure.
But again, so currently, so I think from a reliability point of view, this is not a huge addition because the kubelet already handles all of these errors. It's just about standardizing how to surface those errors. But it's already been, we already handled them, right? It's just hard to know when that happened.
Yes, the only problem it is I haven't looked at the CAP yet. My concern it is Kubernetes already handle. So if you want to standardize, you either go with Kubernetes way, or if you want to Kubernetes or node to change a new way, then we need to start to think about migration for existing customer. They maybe rely on the previous and to watch their job.
I don't want to remove whatever is there, right? I just want to add a new pod condition for all of this.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so anyone volunteer to review this one? And looks like the 2 node, and it's limited scope, and also is alpha feature.
I'm interested to review this one as a first pass.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I can help review as well from my side.
Thanks, Chilton and David. And when you think about it's ready and ping either me and Manu, and we are the approver. And also Kevin, or maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Right. Thank you.
Sorry, I mute myself. Let's move to the last one. Andrew, do we want to talk about the checkpoint, container checkpoint? Yeah.
Yes. I got a couple of reviews from different people. Thank you very much, everyone. And so the question is now if it needs any more reviews. I think Mronal mentioned that he will look over it next week. So I just wanted to bring it up here, the status of the feature. And it seems to be on track.
I can make a last pass, Adrian, and then we can get it approved for March. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Last week I also reviewed, and I have some minor questions, but I didn't put it there because I think it's almost ready to go. So that's why I just okay. So yeah, let's move forward this way. Yeah, looks like we yeah.
Well, Adrian, just a quick question, maybe for the runtime support. What's the status on the? I'm pretty sure you've been working on the cryo side yourself, right? But on the containerd side, is there any support yet, or that's still?
Yeah. So I opened a pull request basically to wire through the new CRI call to containerd. And so the pull request exists. The pull request has no unit testing yet, so I need to add this to the containerd pull request. The bigger problem for the containerd side is that I need to think about a format where to store the checkpoints, how to use it in containerd, because currently containerd has no support which fits what we thought about here, but it should be easy to come up with something. So basically at this point containerd is able to create a checkpoint. We just need to put it in the right file, and then it should be done. So it looks the most infrastructure in containerd already exists, so it's not that big chunk of work.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're happy to help. Feel free to ping on the containerd side. Happy to test it out and
cool. Thank you.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you just need to sync it up to the new API changes for the duration and the location. And it's pretty easy to just create the file. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just ping me when it's ready, and I'll give it the review, and we'll get it first. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Mac and David and Adrian on this one. So that's all for today. And on our agenda, any other topic people want to bring up? Okay. Everyone got a little bit more than 20 minutes back, so we can review our CAP and the PS. So thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.